welcome to our event. This is a Business Fusion event brought to you by Business Connect, which is a New South Wales government initiative. My name is Meg and I'm a business advisor here at the Business Centre. My professional background is in financial advice, but my specialties are in marketing and startups, and I love getting vision to market. So this is the Business Centre where we are. We've been supporting the community for almost 40 years. We do this through advice, education and connections. So this includes business advisory, educational courses and events and connections through our networks. And the purpose of this Fusion event is to demystify and tap into your business idea and to become aware of and confident in the process of starting a business in New South Wales today. So joining me, we have the wonderful Brooke. If you could please share a little bit about you.
Business advisor, trainer here at the Business Centre, currently working on the Digital Solutions program, but have been in innovation, creativity and business for about 12 years now. Love what I do.
Yay! And we also have Pete, and if you could please share a little bit about you.
Yeah, not as exciting as Brooke, but I've also been in and around the Business Centre for a dozen or more years now, specifically in training and business advisory. I've had my own businesses for coming up to 30 years now, so that dates me a little bit. So, but love putting into practice some of the things that I've come across in my years in business and assisting people, particularly in this startup phase where, you know, a lot of people just don't know what we don't know. So being able to smooth that pathway for people and get them started on their journey, that's what drives us. That's our passion here.
I think it's really cool that all the business advisors have either had their own business or still have their own business. So there's that currency to the information and perspective that we share.
Yeah, and lived experience as well. Yeah. So statistics say that over 75% of new businesses fail within the first 5 years. So why is that? And that's sort of what we're going to discuss and unpack a little bit tonight. So we have something called a value proposition or a lack thereof, inadequate capital and knowledge of finances and what it really takes to start a business, and a lack of understanding of compliance. So that includes things like your structures and your insurances and things like that. So to pose a question to you both, what is a value proposition and is it even important? So we'll start with you, Brooke, if you could speak to that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's super important. The value proposition is a statement that encompasses how you solve a problem for your customer in a unique way. So it's part of your competitive advantage as well. So a lot of people don't really quite hit the mark in articulating their value particularly well, and that sends a lot of people down the drain, unfortunately. But understanding the real value that you provide to your customers is pretty much everything. It's also the start of that product to market fit journey, which is really important to go through. So understanding what your clients need, how you solve that problem, and then iterating that, evolving that, sort of innovating the process, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah. So if I'm really good at what I do, wouldn't that be enough?
No, it's really great that you're good at what you do. A lot of the people that we see are fabulous technically in the skills that they have, but in running a business, it's a different set of skills or knowledge and probably something they just haven't been exposed to. So while it's wonderful that you're an expert in your field, you also need to learn how to run a business, how to operate a business, understand what cash flow means. You know, an operating business model is really important to understand.
Yeah, yeah. So leading into this idea around value a little bit more, could you talk to value personally and how somebody's personal experiences?
Yeah, sure. Obviously, the values that you instill in your business are a bit of bedrock for you to build your business on. There's been a lot of talk over the last 10 years about why you do what you do and how that's so important to drive purpose. So purpose is extremely important. You need something very clear that will drive you in your business because it's not always easy to get up and keep going. So you need to be able to pull from that drive and purpose somewhere. Unfortunately, the last couple of years have seen what I'd call purpose washing. And that's people saying, oh, you have to have a reason for your business. You have to be able to say what that reason and that why is. You do if it's genuine. So make sure that what you're looking at to drive you in your business is clear, but make sure it's real. It's something, a word we use all the time, isn't it, Pete?
Yep.
It's got to be genuine. It's got to be real. Excuse me. Even the word authentic has been taken over by the wonderful wheels of marketing these days. So the main thing is just to understand your values, the values in your business, the goals of what you want for yourself and for your business, what's going to drive you to reach those goals, and then how you're going to measure them when you get there.
And I suppose a lot of this authenticity also comes through in the communication as well, and how you communicate to your clients. This is typically a type of marketing. Could you, Pete, speak to the marketing in this?
That's a really interesting topic, marketing, and in my opinion, it's a complete misnomer. Most people that I come across, and I don't know if you've shared this experience, Brooke, but people tend to think about marketing as probably their communication strategy or their promotional strategy. They think if they've got some form of social media and perhaps a website and do some PR and promotion, that's their marketing done. When I think Brooke really nailed what marketing actually is a little bit earlier, and this is understanding what your purpose is and what problems you're actually solving for your customers. At the end of the day, if we don't have customers to whom we transfer value, then we're not in business. It's certainly not a sustainable business. And a lot of people think, to come back to your earlier question, that, oh, I'm a really great carpenter, I'm a really great accountant, I'm a really great at something, surely that is enough. Well, no, it isn't, because if I sold the best VHS videotapes that are available and I bought a container load of it into the country, have I got a sustainable business? Well, I have, if anyone wants VHS videotapes, but I think they went out 30 years ago, didn't they? As a mainstream media form. So it's got to be solving customers' problems, it's got to be relevant and driven by your purpose and your beliefs, and everything else that you stand for in business has got to be applied to solving your customers' problems if you're going to have a sustainable business. Marketing is about putting your customer central to your philosophy, to your thinking, and everything that you do should be about solving their problems. It's that simple. Having a promotional strategy is great. Having a product and sales mix is great. Having a communication strategy and a sales strategy, everything else that goes with it, absolutely critical. But marketing as a science is all about understanding customer needs, what drives those needs, what influences those needs, and how you can solve them. And if we're going to talk competitive advantage, solving them in a way that's sustainable and achieve some economies or realise some benefits more so than your competitors.
Can I just jump on the word sustainable? In business, we talk a lot about business sustainability, and obviously these days it also ties into social responsibility and sustainability, environmental sustainability. There's a lot of lenses you can look at that through, and if you're really passionate about that area of things, you can look at a circular economy business model. So there's lots of different business models that can fit those spaces, but when talking about business sustainability, it really is that long game. We know those stats about when businesses fail. But we also know what's important to keep businesses evolving and making them sustainable is all around that innovation. Not just listening to your clients in the first step, it's constantly listening, constantly asking them for feedback. How can you do better? What could they not live without that you offer? You know, really getting stuck back into that product to market fit loop.
Yeah, for sure.
And Brooke, particularly relevant in this day and age when the political and legal and external environment is changing and is volatile. There are going to be opportunities to come out of that for our market.
Yeah.
It's a disruptive environment. Our customers' status quo has just been turned on its head.
Absolutely.
Imagine if conflicts around the world escalate. What's that going to do to energy prices, to stock availability, supply channels, and all that sort of stuff that we saw initially through COVID? What's that going to do to our market? We've got to be evolving ahead of our customers.
Yep. Yep.
So we going through this process, you can understand the who and the why we're doing this business. Pete, could you talk to the how? How do we make this possible?
Yeah, so when you consider where we are now, we know our environment. If we've got a vision, if we've got a purpose, we sort of know where we want to be. How do you get there? What's your GPS route that you're going to take? Effectively, it's a plan. We need to have a plan. We need to have a roadmap for success. I'm not talking about developing a business plan that's 30, 50, 100 pages written with Venn diagrams and all that sort of stuff. But we need to have a business model. that we've developed through a systematic and strategic review of a number of base elements. And one of the tools that we use extensively at the Business Centre here to do exactly that is called a business model canvas. It's a bit of a mind mapping exercise where we actually get to visualise on one sheet of paper, one screen, one whatever it is that we're working on, all the major elements that comprise an effective business model.
And the cool part is one side of that canvas is customer facing and the other side of that canvas is internal to the business facing. So even within that one frame, you're looking at it through two different lenses.
Exactly right. And as I'll take a point that you made there, the forward-looking part or the outward-looking part, which is customer-focused, understands in the first instance who our customers actually are.
Yep.
And a lot of people go into business, I think, thinking that they've got some form of technology or a skill set or whatever, but don't actually understand who has a need for this. Who am I going to market? So there's a process you can go through to what we call segment the market, and we can apply a number of lenses or filters to the whole population. We can use geographic, demographic, psychographic, behaviouristic, all these different filters which are designed to funnel down and understand who it is that we're actually targeting. And any business will have a number of different key segments that it might be targeting. Once we understand who they are, we can then understand what their problem is. This segment might have a certain problem, another segment might have a different problem. We've got different products or services now that can add value to those people's lives, to solve their problems, to fix their pain points, to give them those aspirational things that they seek. So once we understand who the customers are and what the value is, well, how do we transfer that value between ourselves as a supplier and those people as our clients? How do we communicate the fact that, hey, we've got a solution to your problem? Sometimes we actually have to communicate the fact that they've got a problem because they might not even know that a technology exists or something happens. So we've got to communicate. We've got to engage our clients. We've got to give them reason to consider us and to compare us and shop around and what is it that we're actually offering. Then we've got to give them a process by which they can engage with us and transact with us. And then obviously exchange money and give us money, their money for the solution that we give them. Then we've got to communicate a number of further interactions, build a customer relationship model around that. Two things we need in business, and I don't care what sort of business it is or what format it is. We need repeat business and we need referral business. So how do we engage with our customers, get them to come back time and time again and bring their friends and family? So a customer relationship model around the number of touch points, what we communicate, what offers, what promotions, just being there for them, having an answering machine, having a person to talk to. These little things can mean so much.
The customer experience,
the whole
looking
experience.
at it from start to finish. Do you know it costs 6 to 7 times more to get a new client than to keep an old?
I wouldn't doubt that at all. It makes so much sense, doesn't it? Why would you go and spend more money, time, effort and resources on getting a new customer when you've got one here already who knows you and loves you, and all you've got to do is invite them back and tell them to bring their friends. That's how you grow businesses organically. These elements, so if we start with the customer segment and the value that we deliver, the channels through which we deliver that value and the customer relationship model, when you think of it, this is what drives revenue into your business. These are the revenue streams. This is how you get the money into your business. As Brooke said earlier, these are forward facing. On the other half of this canvas though, we've got the inward areas, the things that are more about us, what we do to deliver that value. So a business will typically need a whole lot of partners. Bankers, technology partners, an internet provider, a web developer, an accountant, a bookkeeper, all these people who are external to our business but critical to how it functions.
Even collaborators that build capacity.
Collaborators, absolutely. We've then got our own internal resources. So they can be human, they can be technology, they can be capital, money. We need money in a business. So assets, physical, tangible things. So given that we've got partners who provide us with resources, what do we do day in, day out? What's our activities? What do we do that actually turns 1 and 1 into 3 and adds value to our clients? So there are our activities. When you look at those 3 elements, that side of our business model canvas, that's where all our costs are contained. So now straight away...
And efficiencies.
And efficiencies, dead right. So now we've got, on one piece of paper, through a very simplistic analysis of a number of key areas, we can develop a whole financial plan because we know what our revenue streams are and we know what our cost structures are. So the key, I think, Meg, to moving forward, the how, is to have a plan, to understand the environment, to continually iterate and reiterate, and if it doesn't work, change it up, try again, and find what works, continuously evolve it. And that's why we love at the Business Centre Brook having the canvas, because in the old days the business plan used to sit on the coffee table and you'd never look at it again. With this canvas we can update it continuously. It's a work in progress all the time.
It's really cool. With a particular client that I had, they were established for a very long period of time and they were thinking of introducing a new product or service, adding new value to their existing customers. So it was very cool that we just went to the business model canvas they had stuck on their wall. Went, okay, with this new product or service, what does this mean? You know, what new marketing strategies do we need? How are we going to engage? How are we going to deliver the service? But also what new resources, like human resources, technological resources, do we need to make this happen effectively? So to grow your business, it's a really cool tool to look at as well.
Yeah. That's fantastic. So on that same question of the how, the business model canvas is one method. The business plan, the 80-page business plan, is a not very ideal alternative method. When thinking of the how, could you talk a little bit to that also, Brooke, aside from the business model canvas, but how, when we're getting started in business, what we need to be considering to get it all happening off the ground?
Yeah, sure. So when you're first thinking of starting, I always just have this mental checklist that I run through, and it's, okay, what's the value, who's it for, how much are we thinking of charging, why are they going to value it, and how are we going to deliver it to them? Like, it's just that little, you know,
who, what, when, where, why.
Would always apply.
Yeah.
But the methodologies that we use as business advisors have been honed and iterated in themselves over years. So we'd start by looking at your vision and your values and where you want to go, the GPS that Pete referred to. So we know you want to get here. This is where you are now. How do we get you from there to there? The business modelling, the financial forecasting and sales mix, which I'm sure Pete will talk about later because you love it. But also the things that sit at the heart of your business, being that experience that the customers go through. It's how you connect, how you have that human element in your business. So for someone that works in a digital solutions program, of course, I love digital solutions for businesses, but it's all got to be embedded in a humanness in that way. So it's the way you feel when you interact with a business. I want people to think about that.
Yeah.
How do you want people to feel when they leave your place of business or have experienced your product and service?
Yeah. It's so important because people, they don't remember what you say or what you did, they remember how you made them feel. So that's a really important point.
Can I add something?
Please,
It's something I talk about all the time. Sorry if you've heard it before, but it's that whole concept of not knowing what you need before a product is put in front of you that solves that problem you don't know you have. And I live really remotely, and so I drive through some really windy bush roads to get home and dirt roads to get home. In looking for a new car for myself, I could not believe that this car was like, yes, I will test drive that car. But what it did, its headlights actually turn around the corners as you steer your car around the corner. And for me, that was just like, oh my God, I didn't even know I needed this thing. But it improves my life and my safety every single day.
Yeah.
So it's that's what a product can do for a client when it's that perfect fit.
Yeah, for sure.
Can I just make a point about that? You've touched on a real gold mine, I think. Great example. So what that car has, we're not buying that car for the headlights that turn the corner. What we're buying is what? Safety and improvement in my life, whatever that is, quote unquote.
Comfort, safety,
and that
confidence.
So that illustrates the point that I would contend that no one ever buys a physical, tangible product for its physical self.
It's
we
not
buy
the
benefit, the intangible, the emotive response or benefit that we get from utilising that. So sure, it's got headlights that turn a corner, but why? Why do we buy it? because my life's better, because it's going to stop me from hitting a tree. It's going to preserve me for maybe a month or two more. So,
Or kangaroos.
well,
Yeah.
exactly. So, that's a great illustration of what value actually means. It's not necessarily the tangible thing, it's the intangible.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So a huge part going into business is, of course, the finances. One of the main reasons we start business is to make some money. So what are some essentials, we'll start with you, Brooke, that people need to know about finances before they start?
We'd really like people to think about the money they need to live. So how much does your lifestyle cost? Have an idea of what amount of money you need to live on every year. It could be an improvement to what you're currently on. It could be a step back, whatever it is. Have a number that you know you're aiming towards. It's a good place to start. When we're talking to, say, freelancers and contractors, one thing we're always up against is the value of their time. So we go through a process about what's your time worth. So, for example, just say a freelancer wanted to earn $100,000 a year. We take them through this calculator which says, okay, well, you have these overheads that are going out, you have this profit you want to make, you have a certain number of days a year that you can't work or don't work, or sick days, anything like that. So really it ends up being $141 an hour is the rate they need to charge. So this is usually quite a big moment for people. Hang on, I thought I needed this much money to live. That means my time is worth this much? How do I feel about that? Like it starts getting people in that space of considering their financial value, and that price point is always such a sticky process for people to go through.
But don't you see it a lot with startups in particular, that people don't value their time?
Absolutely.
And I've been doing training courses with startups for a dozen or more years now. And a lot of people say, I've heard it 1,000 times, I'm only new, so I'll go in cheap, I'll go in under the market. And I'm thinking, why? Aren't you any good?
Yeah.
But it's also, you come with this with a fresh perspective, new eyes. Are you kidding? That's not valuable. That's amazing.
Think about the value that you're adding to the person, to your clients. They don't care whether you're new or not. They don't care where you went to school, where you grew up or whatever. All they care about is the value that they're going to get from engaging with you and your business. And particularly with that in mind, how much you need to live the lifestyle that you want, charge appropriately. Charge on the value that you're delivering, not what it's cost you to make it or how long you've been in business or whatever. So
I've always got your voice in my head at that point in time of, well, Brooke, think about it. When you're setting a price, there's what people will pay. There's what your competitors are doing. There's how much it cost. And there's what it's actually worth. And all of those things combined, when you delve into them, ends up being your price. Yep.
can I give you an example?
Go.
Many years ago, we had
Sorry, Meg,
cyclones.
let us know.
This is good. Go.
We had weather events up and down the east coast, and it wiped out the banana crop. I don't know if you remember that. I'm probably going back 15 or more years. And the price of a kilo of bananas went from, where is it typically, $3, $4 or something like that, I don't know, to 5 to 6 to 8 to 10, demand and supply, right? So as the supply dried up, demand went up and the price point went up to a point where, if you can imagine a big rubber band stretching, there's an economic concept called price elasticity of demand. So how far will demand extend as the price goes up to the point where it just breaks and we say no more, enough is enough. You know, it's reaching a price point just below that point which epitomises the value that people place on a certain item or a service. And that's well and good. We can say, oh, let's charge that much then, $16 a kilo. But the problem is we've got competitors, and these nasty competitors come in and they'll say, oh, we can do it for 15 or we'll do it for 14. So we've got a downward trend in pricing that affects just about all businesses in this sort of economy, unless you're a monopoly. You've got competition. And competition usually drives prices down, and we all think that's a good thing if we're a consumer. As a business, it's not. So you can play two games. You can get caught in that downward spiral and try and produce and get your economies of scale and make each unit of your production cost a lower amount, so become the cheapest producer. Or you can distance yourself out of that equation and put your price back up to something approaching that natural level by differentiating your offer and doing something that's valuable to your consumer, something they value, that your competitors can't copy easily. And that's the key to getting out of that price-driven spiral. Differentiate your offer and charge what you're worth. Petrol's a classic example. Who would drive past fuel at $1.80 to go and fill up at $2.40? I don't know who would do that. Why would you do that? It's a commodity. It is what it is, what it is. However, if you somehow could differentiate your offer, where they came in and there was driveway service and you checked the oil and you checked the tyre pressure and you did something rather else, you might have a better chance of elevating the price per litre as part of the value that you're offering in that service. So try and, if we play that competitive spiral, lowest price wins.
Can I tell you a little story? It's an old story. I don't know if it's actually true, but I like it anyway.
It can be.
So it's a main street of a small town, and there are two shops. One has a hairdresser in it, and he's been there for a very, very long time. And he's always had a sign in his window saying $15 haircuts. Everyone knows what they're going to get. The value's good, consistent, all great. A competitor comes in, buys a shop across the street, gets everyone's interest, and says, okay, what are we going to do differently here? Let's just go with undercutting the initial person that was there. And they put $5 haircuts up because they want to build up their market as a sign in their window. And the original person just went, oh, what am I going to do? Like, I'm going to lose so many customers. They went, no, I'm going to back myself and replace that sign to we fix $5 haircuts. There's just ways, there's always ways that you can differentiate yourself and really increase that value of what you do.
Dead right.
So looping back to finance in business and when you're starting out, could we talk a little bit about the expenses that we need to be mindful of? Brooke, I might ask you, that when you're starting a business, because you can easily think, well, I'm starting a t-shirt business, I bought my t-shirts, I'm good to go.
No.
What else is there?
Well, we'd go back to the business model, the operating model and your financial forecast. So I'd be going, okay, well, how much money am I going to need for other resources, other tools that I'm going to need in my business? Other experts and professionals that I'm going to need to engage with in that initial phase as well. So when people say, oh, I don't have any overheads, no, you definitely would in some capacity. It means they just haven't been uncovered yet. I might throw over.
Yeah, well said. Starting a business, I think you need to look at the nature of the business, obviously, whether it's a physical business or an online business or a service-related business or a retail-type business. The parameters are going to be different and unique to your own circumstances. But a lot of things people fail to consider, particularly, say, if you're leasing premises, you might have a bond that you need to pay. You might have to pay rent in advance. You might have to get lawyers and perhaps accountants involved to review documentation and so on. You may need to do a fit-out. And depending on the industry, that can be $30 or $50 to paint the wall, right through to hundreds of thousands of dollars to, do something, say, in the food area, where you need to do an extensive fit-out. So you need to have those establishment costs in mind, and all the costs of the working capital, the money that you're just going to need in the bank account, just to employ staff, train staff, buy their uniforms, or buy your computer or your laptop or your desk or whatever it is that you're going to need to be able to do your business. Set up a website with an e-commerce facility. There's change out of...
Working capital. People seem to think that I'm going to start a business here. I'm going to start on the 1st of November and I'm going to have clients on the 2nd of November. It's like, no, you're going to have a certain runway where you literally don't have anything coming in the door. So it's about, how am I going to float that? How am I going to keep building up this business and reaching those customers with that capital?
And one of the best ways I think we are able to help our clients to determine that is to do a fairly detailed sales mix, cash flow, profit and loss forecast. So these are horrible financial terms, but they're actually fairly simple to digest if we just do it a mouthful at a time. So start with developing your sales mix. So we know the value, we understand the market that we're in, we understand what people are going to pay for. We've probably determined our price point. We might know our direct cost of sales, what it costs to actually manufacture each item. Imagine a cup of coffee that you might buy from next door, $5 cup of coffee. We know our price point. How much does it actually cost them? What's the coffee beans cost? What does the cup cost, the stirrer, the lid, the cream, everything else that goes in it? So once we know what our direct costs are, we can take that away from our selling price, and now we've got our gross profit. We've got to apply our gross profit to cover all those overheads you're talking about. The rent, the wages, the insurance, the mobile phones, the website,
Software.
repairs and maintenance, subscription, software, Spotify, merchant fees. Do you realise every time your customer taps your device to pay, that's probably costing you as much as a couple of % of the transaction value. That can mount up to thousands of dollars over a year. So we lay all this out for you in a sales mix, which generates an estimate month by month by month of the volumes of product you're either thinking you're going to sell or wish to sell. It can be aspirational. So each of these different revenue streams that we identified earlier in the business model canvas, widget 1, how many of those are we going to sell month by month? What's our sell price? What's our cost of goods? Move on to widget 2 and do the same process. Now,
And also, how many of the widgets can I actually make in that time frame?
Exactly.
Yeah.
This helps you determine capacity. I need a bigger factory. I need more staff. So by the time we get that information down, we've got the cash flowing into the business, but now we need a critical look at, well, what do I need to be able to produce that number of widgets and sell them? So now we've got sales and marketing budgets, we've got all of those monthly expenditures for insurance, motor vehicle expenses, subscriptions and so on. Even things like the tax man, we've got to pay GST, we've got to pay tax and all these sort of things. We can factor all that sort of stuff into a cash flow forecast that at the end of the day will give you an idea of what sort of working capital balance you're likely to have, how much money in the bank at the end of every month for, say, a couple of years. Wouldn't it be nice to know that in advance?
You'd never know that he loves this area of business, would you?
It's seriously, it's so easy to do, and it's gold. It gives people an idea of, hell, I'm going to run out of money then. Or, you know what, I've got a surplus there. I might be able to buy my new truck or plan to put on more staff. Or to take Brooke's point, I see a bottleneck. There's not enough hours in my life to be able to do all that. I'm going to have to put staff on. That'll cost me direct wages, superannuation, insurances, 20% more than the actual cost or the charge that you pay on an hourly basis is what it's going to cost your business. Let's factor that in. Let's get an idea of what that's going to mean to cash flowing out of our business. This is really simple stuff. Yet so many people either don't know it or aren't bothered to do it, and they run out of money and wonder why.
It's also not put to them in a way that they can see that it's kind of cool and exciting, as geeky as that sounds like. But you learn about the levers that you can push and pull in your business to get different outcomes, and that's really kind of fun. Or is that just me?
Well, I think it's fun to know if you're going to make money, how much you're going to make, or if you're going to lose money by pursuing this as well. Because let's not undervalue the importance of determining when's the best time to quit an idea. It might not necessarily be that everything turns to gold. This is a way that you can say, you know what, there's a market there, but I can't make it work. I'm better to divest now and go off and do something else. And you do this through effective planning and modelling.
Yeah, absolutely.
And finally, we'll just talk to the compliance part of all of this. We'll start with you, Brooke, if you could highlight some things that you just have to cover before you can start trading.
Just look at your general checklists. They're going to start with get an ABN, make sure you've got the right insurance, make sure you've got the right business structure.
Yeah, well, on business structure, that's something that in all of this, we don't know what we don't know. It's not complicated necessarily, but it's important to get advice.
It's tailored, like it needs to be tailored.
It needs to be tailored to your circumstances, and you need to go and talk to your lawyer, talk to your accountant or financial advisor and get proper advice on what structure and what processes best suit your personal and business circumstances. There are different ways to operate a business. You can do it as an individual, you can do it as a corporation, you can do it in partnership, you can do it through other structures like trusts.
And then how tax pertains to those
and things like tax and so on are completely different and separate depending on which one of those structures. Speaking of tax, I'll just touch on it a little bit. It's a horrible word, but it's a part of life. As a sole trader or someone in business by themselves, of course, we need to worry about putting aside and paying tax. So as a wage and salary earner, our boss has always taken out or withheld tax from our pay. We're the boss now, we've got to do that ourselves. How do I do that? How much do I have to take out? How do I know this stuff? It's actually pretty simple when you know where to look. There are published tax scales from the ATO. Your accountant can help you with those. We can help you with them. But it's important that you do on that cash flow forecast, make a provision for how much tax actually goes out of your business every quarter.
As advisors, we think it's an equal win to be able to share with a customer with a new idea that that business in the model they're currently thinking is not going to be viable, then it is viable. So we're not here to just be cheerleaders and cheer on your ideas. We really want to support you to get to an operating model that's sustainable.
Yep, excellent. All right, so were there any final points that you wanted to add before we conclude?
Oh, look, it's a complicated and complex environment, Megan. I'm sure you've probably got something to say about that in a moment, but there's help out there. There's plenty of advice. It can be easily navigated if you know where the little bombs are located in the minefield. And the Business Centre is certainly here to help with that, as are your other professional advisors, and we'd strongly recommend working in conjunction with those to put people on the right path.
Excellent.
I'd say be genuine, take time for critical thinking, take time for creative thinking, innovate constantly in your business, don't stop, and just keep getting advice where you can. Listen to people that have done it before, surround yourself by people that are thinkers in this space.
Yeah, that's excellent. So obviously we'll be strong advocates for Business Connect and the Business Centre. It's a fully subsidised business advice session, so recommend to anybody who would like more information to contact the Business Centre.
Do they just Google Business Centre?
Google the Business Centre, or look it up on Facebook or Instagram as well. Or you can find us through the Service New South Wales website also. So if you are Googling further information, always stick to government websites. You've got state and federal government sites like the ATO, Fair Work, or of course, ask your advisor. So that's the end of the Business Fusion event, and we would like to again acknowledge all these programs are brought to you by New South Wales Government's Business Connect program. This program supports small businesses to start up, create jobs through growth, helps high-growth small businesses deliver on their potential, supports high-needs businesses to recover and become sustainable, and increases businesses' confidence across New South Wales through access to business advice, small business events and workshops. Thank you.